Just how sick and twisted is the moral compass of the general RPG player, or perhaps more specifically, one who really likes Baldur's Gate 3?
I'm not sure this is a good idea.
Do we save the orphans, or do we kick the squirrels? Or perhaps a little bit of both? This video spawned from an incredible response I got to one of my community posts. A simple question: how do you play an RPG on your first playthrough? Well, over 4,000 people responded to that query alone, and I couldn't really stop there, right? So I had to ask some follow-up questions. I wanted to see how pure and pristine you all were, or how downright villainous or just straight up degenerate you might be. In total, there are more than 12,000 votes cast across these 30 questions that I asked. Not only that, there were almost 200 comments. So thank you so much everyone who participated, because without you, this video wouldn't exist. The results of the first question actually weren't that unexpected. And even though many of us who play RPGs like this may be a little bit degenerate, that doesn't mean that at our core, we're not empathetic and kind and heroic. At least according to these results. Of the 4,400 votes on the question of your first playthrough, 64% of you chose the path of the hero. Now, of course, people's version of a hero may vary. I'm not going to try and play devil's advocate with thousands of perspectives, so I'll just tell you mine. The hero is the character who seeks to do the least harm and bring the most good, perhaps sacrificing some personal gains along the way. The second most voted, of course, was the morally gray. And no, it is not just the protagonist of your favorite book that one book talker told you about. No, morally gray, the heroes that have their own moral code. They may have a general sense of goodness to them, they may seek the best outcome, or the outcome that will cause the least harm, specifically to those around them. But if a few people get fucked over in the process, well, they're the character that may try to do what's right, but could fail due to bad tendencies. Perhaps taking a deal they shouldn't, siding with the wrong person, taking a bribe or two. You know, kind of probably the person that's most like you or I. I think Arilia had put it really well in this comment. Mostly, I played the early game as a chaos goblin, but also decided after a bit to center my character around free will. My allies did as they desired with only minor input from me. Did some things that were morally questionable, but ultimately was heroic. But some of you are just truly wicked, aren't you? Before the credits roll for the first time, you want to see just how villainous and cruel and deadly you can be. 3% of you, in fact, 3% that I would never ever want to meet in a dark alley, or a light alley, any and a street. This is scary. This is the very first playthrough and you're already punting squirrels.
It would be ever so twee if it were climbing a tree.
How heroic. I was wondering if we'd survive encountering such a fearsome beast.
The villain is, as you suspect, the truly wicked, though they may of course be the hero of their own story. After all, isn't good and evil just a matter of perspective, and the best place to be is with enough power to decide where that perspective falls. But there was also a fourth option, one that I wanted to provide a little bit of opportunity for you to have a little bit more say, an option of like something else. And some of the comments that came for that were fantastic. Even if at first I was a bit miffed as to what the something else could be, well, Kenneth had us covered in explaining exactly what that something else could be. My first one will be classified as more of a tourist that has fighting skills and has to keep using them because he is stupidly bumping into things he shouldn't. I want like that's the kind of like RPG that I want to watch a movie or a TV show or read a book about. That yes, fantastic, Kenneth. And then there's this one, which I'm not sure is morally gray hero or just more like something along the lines of Robin Hood, but not going all the way with all the steps. You know, like stealing from the rich. And then like that's it. There's no part 2. Kleptomaniac hero. I'm going to help out everyone I can, and I may even do it for free, but I'm going to steal, loot absolutely anything I possibly can. Thank you, Whisper DVM. But perhaps my favorite comment from all of the first round of comments was this one from Vortash. Just realized it's not Vortash at all. I've been playing a lot of Baldur's Gate 3, so please forgive me for that. This comment from Voltar Ash. I played as an idiot paladin whose intelligence stat is 8, which gives you a -1 modifier, but somehow his muscles, 19 strength, and personality, 17 charisma, were somehow enough for him to trudge through most stuff. Charmingly stupid is the phrase, I think. Voltar Ash, you made a himbo. You 100% made a paladin himbo. But don't worry. You are absolutely, certainly, Knuff. For your second playthrough, it sounds like all of you were a bit more dickish in general. Significantly so, which makes sense given that I guess it is the second playthrough and you want something a little bit different. But many players, I think, were falling into this trap that was said throughout multiple comments. I play as a hero and tell myself I won't the next playthrough, then do it again and again and again. Being evil is hard. It was such a common refrain in the comment section, and it's one that I get for sure. Being evil in these games can be a little bit difficult, because especially if they're written well, if the characters are written well, the ones that you're being an asshole to, they can make you feel bad about it. I personally, I take it to the extreme. I felt bad about leaving people in camp when I was playing Baldur's Gate 3 because they would be upset. I felt really, really bad about it. It's just the better they're written, the harder it's going to be a villain. And obviously I wasn't alone. However, in this case, that doesn't seem to be exactly what's going to be going on. Because the majority of you said, fuck that, we're gonna be villains anyway. "43% of you chose to be the darkness on the horizon, creeping across the world with tyranny and mean words that make people cry. A lot." Morally Gray came in very close second at 39%. And to be completely fair, that is how my second playthrough of BG3 is currently going with my half-elf warlock. A mere 14% of you are covering up for something by doubling down on your hero complex, but then there are people like Resin Over Paradise who said, "My third playthrough I played as a bard and my goal was to romance as many NPCs as I could." And to that I have to ask, isn't that just playing a bard? I thought that was what you have to do if you play a bard. If you don't do that, I figured you might get kicked out of the barding school of Bardington, the Bard College. It's like improv, but with music and sex, isn't it? Jokes aside, there was one comment here that was really telling and fantastic. Really encapsulated just the pure evilness and malice that you can get to in an RPG. And that came from Damobek. "Villain stories aren't as good if you don't know how heroic you can be. So, hero first, villain second, Gray after." It just came across as so delightfully twisted, so evil, that you have to learn the extent of your good to see how far in the other direction you can go, how cruel and evil you can be. Needing to know how evil your evilness is. You've got to set the bar with the good to see how cruelly you can fuck people over. After all, what good is siding with the god of murder if you don't know the backstories of all the poor people that you'll murder to get there? As Drake Hunter said in another comment, "I want to be the devil, not just work for him."
After all, if there is one rule I hold dear, it's that one must always give the devil his due.
God Damn, some of you are twisted, and I love it because I'll never do it. I can't. I've tried. I feel bad. I apologize to the NPC. So I'm glad that some of you can be absolutely murderously cruel in these RPGs, so I can sit back and watch. That sounds kind of fucked up, doesn't it? I should talk about that in my therapy next. But all of this left me with a burning question. One of the great joys of RPGs is the ability to replay them. Their replayability, because making different choices will lead to different outcomes, especially in some recent games like Baldur's Gate 3, Witcher 3, or even going back to Dragon Age Origins. There's Mass Effect. There's so many different things that you can impact the RPG with your decision making and how you go about it. But what happens if you don't get that opportunity? If you could only play the RPG one time? If you had to pick being good, bad, or somewhere in between? Well, again, the results weren't that surprising. With almost 4,000 votes, the majority of you went for morally gray, the land between, the space with the most freedom to be both bad and good. 56% of you chose this path, while a not insignificant 38% of you chose the hero, and 5% of you were devilishly villainous, despite only getting to play it through it once. It makes sense that the choice that falls within the middle, letting you stray one way or another in a very human way, is the one that won. Setting your own moral compass, and from a gameplay standpoint, probably getting to see the most content because you're not locking yourself out by being one extreme or the other. But I think some of us may play the way Cert Mediocre does, who says that they play less morally gray and more making insane decisions that have no consistency and fluctuate wildly between extremes. I mean, that sounds about right. If nothing else, that's how I play my D&D campaigns. I don't know so much about the RPG, but definitely D&D campaigns. And life. And in my total life. I made YouTube channels. That's pretty wild and chaotic, I guess. I don't know what the hell's going on with this stuff. But I want to end with one that's kind of a nice comment, and one that I really like. Probably my favorite comment overall, because it made me think about it. And that comment came from Trap Saltburn. To quote some random thing I saw on Facebook, "Being able to help everyone is my power fantasy." That's just a sweet thing to think about, like the ability, like having the strength, the power, the position, everything to be able to help others, to help everyone in the story. I know when I was playing Baldur's Gate 3, I was struggling with the idea that there were any sacrifices that I had to be made, you know. And I thought that was just a kind of a cool comment to end on. And it's that's kind of my goal here. Is I just want to, everyone watching, I want you to smile or laugh at least once throughout this video. That's my end goal, is make you have a little bit of joy, a little bit of happiness. And if I succeeded in that, I am very thrilled. My name is Redbeard Flynn, and if you want to see some more scandalous reviews of Baldur's Gate 3, you can see it in this video right here. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderfully villainous, heroic, or chaotic goblin day as you see fit. Thank you very much.